What's going on, guys? So it's that time of the year. Most people are out of school and college, and there's a lot of cons going on this time of the year. And also, it can get really hot outside depending on where you are. I thought this would be a good time to make this video. And the topic of this video will be what to bring to an anime convention. As a cosplayer of 10 years, I've experienced a lot of conventions, and thus I have an idea of how to survive one, and what to bring. So without further ado, let's get this list started. Now, first and foremost, the first thing you need to bring is water, preferably in this type of flask. Obviously, we as humans need water, and going to cons we get distracted a lot that we forget that we have to drink. So we obviously need to have some type of water with us, just so that we were reminded that we should drink. And I say I prefer water in a flask because unlike water bottles, you can actually refill this, and that means you can make the most out of the existence of water fountains and bottle refill areas, which I see often present at anime conventions. So yes, definitely bring water, especially at this time of year because it gets really hot. Second on the list, you probably heard this a lot, deodorant. Again, especially at this time of the year. And this time of year, the summer, is, in my opinion, where conventions are the most crowded at, especially cons like Anime Expo, Comic-Con, and Otakon. Don't believe me? Just look at this footage I took at SAC Anime Summer 2024. So obviously, you want to do your part and make sure the convention smells nice and doesn't stink a lot. So the best way to do it is just to bring deodorant, and make sure you apply it on every morning. Because with all that heat comes sweat, and then with sweat, it'll come a lot of stink. So you have to make sure you have deodorant applied onto you. Personally, I recommend one of these deodorants as they don't really stain that much as compared to say Old Spice. That's just me as a person who uses deodorant, because I personally do not want my cosplays to stain too much, and I want to minimize the actual potential of damage. Third thing I would say you need to bring is definitely a lot of snacks, especially if you do not want to pay too much for food, because nowadays, especially with all this stuff that's going on, things are getting more expensive, and going out to eat is one of the ones that are gonna really get expensive. And most of these cons take place in downtown areas, and in those areas tend to be the most expensive parts of the cities. In addition, the food at cons are really expensive. You're paying like $20 for chicken strips. You're also paying more than you usually do for stuff like sodas or chips. Even the food trucks that surround these events, they're really expensive.
I said I don't want to eat! I don't want to eat and I don't want to drink!
Usually when I go to these events, I tend to bring stuff such as granola bars and nuts, since personally, that could sustain me for a long time. But not everyone's different. I strongly recommend plan out your meals every day. And also if you have to go out to eat, I strongly recommend looking up the prices of the food at the restaurants near the con. And the fourth thing in my list that I personally think you should bring is cash. Now, if you're in countries like Scandinavia, it might not be as much of an issue because most of it from my experience is credit card only. But here in the US, cash is still king in many areas, conventions included. Even if you could pay by card in places such as the Artist Alley, from my experience, when I try to buy using my card, it tends to give me a surcharge, which means you'll be actually paying more than you originally intend to pay. Even things that cost a lot of money, such as autographs, from my experience, they're often cash only. So yes, definitely bring $100 to a couple $100 at least. Next thing on my list of things you should bring to conventions are definitely bags you could carry to store your stuff. But I don't mean like backpacks because that could be a bit too heavy. What I mean is mostly bags like these, like this drawstring bag. You just carry it on your back and it's a bit easier to take off. Or if you're fancy and you want to express your fandom, you can bring one of these Ida bags. You should be able to fit enough essentials into your bag. This is especially helpful if you go to a convention and you're commuting to a convention, or the hotel you're staying at is not close enough to the event, where you can just leave your stuff behind, and it won't take you a while to go back and get stuff you need. It's also especially true if the cosplay you're wearing does not have any pockets of sorts. I remember cons like AX and SakuraCon used to hand you these bags for free once you pick up your badge, but last time I was at AX, I don't think they gave me one of these bags. This next one depends on the convention you're going to, but I would strongly advise you having your own cosplay repair kit, even if it's just a needle and thread. Now some cons, especially bigger cons, will have their own cosplay repair stations, but even then, I still recommend bringing your own kit, just in case. Me personally, when I wear a cosplay that I personally have handmade myself or have sewed a lot on, I would bring my own cosplay repair kit just in case a seam busts, or a piece of fabric rips. In addition to a cosplay repair kit, depending on what cosplay you're wearing, I would also suggest, if possible, bring your own makeup repair kit. That is, if you're wearing a cosplay that requires a lot of makeup detail. For instance, if you're wearing a lot of face paint for your cosplay, which I do for a lot of my cosplays. And sometimes where I wear face paint for my cosplays, I tend to bring some of the face paint tubs that I use for my cosplays, in order to correct anything that wears out, especially around my eyebrow area, because look at this picture for example, and this will be useful if you have a cosplay photo shoot that occurs later in the day, as opposed when you just gone into your cosplay. I also even sometimes bring my setting powder with me when I'm at these conventions, just in case if I do a touch-up and I want to seal the touch-up. Now this next option is not something I strongly recommend, but if you are able to do that and some of your cosplays really need a lot of maintenance, then I recommend bringing a comb. I see this a lot with cosplayers who wear long wigs. They would often bring a comb with them to straighten out their wigs just in case they get tangled in the middle of the day. I myself have done this, especially during days when I have a photo shoot and I want my wig to look good. Because sometimes from my past experiences, I would think I had a good photo shoot until I got the photos back and I noticed my wig was a bit tangly. For example, this cosplay of mine that I used to wear before. Even if your cosplay doesn't really need much maintenance, I still strongly recommend bringing your own cosplay repair kit, just in case you're hanging out with someone who has a cosplay that needs a lot of maintenance. So that concludes this video. Hopefully I listed the basic essentials needed for conventions. But did I miss anything? Please let me know in the comments below if I missed anything, and if there's anything do you think needs to be added to this list of essentials. And with that, see you in the next video.